Everybody can hear you, just so you know. Okay. So, we just need to make a little link real fast. No. And let's just go over here. We're gonna go to bit.ly real fast.
Is it live?
It should be.
It ain't.
Or should be soon. Yeah, it's live now. Your chat monitor. If anyone says anything important, just tell me, please.
Okay. TJ, we're about to stream the review. So like, if you don't want to be in the video, just like leave. I'm here to just play music. Good music.
Okay, we're almost ready to start here.
You guys are still going?
Did you not hear anything I just told you?
No.
Huh?
I just got on.
Children.
We're doing the algebra review.
The way he's recording right now?
Yes.
He's about to be. Can I play that? Do you like this music?
Me?
No, Gabriel.
Amazing.
Okay.
Don't even think he's listening to that.
Yes, he is.
5 gamers, 4 gamers. Wait, no, 4 gamers, 5 gamers.
Everyone's gonna complain about how long the intro is, and I'm just gonna be like, well, sorry.
Wait, are you
Sorry
staying
for
until-
making a review.
It shouldn't take that long because we have all the answers. So like, all what Gabriel needs to do is show us how to do the problem.
It's 52 questions.
4 questions, excuse me.
54. Oh wow, thank you. We'll give some great insight into how that answer is correct. I remember seeing this one. C, right? Number 1.
Number 1 is, we'll see.
We'll see. Oh, you're live now.
Yeah, it's definitely live now. So in other words, shh. Did you already send out links, Scott?
The lane? The people?
YouTube.
Hello, everyone watching.
If anyone.
If anyone.
They'll hear this all tomorrow though and be like, why?
We're just kind of here.
And there we go. It's the final thing I'm gonna push out, and now we're gonna hopefully begin. Because I think I've already sent out all the links that I needed to do.
It's still COD 8 benchmark review.
You already sent it to Kyle, yeah? Okay, cool. And take my last swig of water, and then we're started.
Why is it GJ? Why did she say GJ?
Good job. TJ, please leave this call. You're gonna be in the video, and you're gonna be like so annoying.
So are you.
Y'all are actually
I'm gonna
toxic. Be
helpful.
quiet.
No, TJ's a toxic one.
I'm not the toxic one. If I'm helping Mr. Gabriel out,
Okay.
I will be
Shh.
toxic.
Now you silence. Okay. Yes. Okay. And we need to switch over to the scene. The scene is gonna be shift 1. I think that should do it. Please tell me if that does it or not.
It did it.
Okay, cool. So, well, the way that this is gonna work, y'all. There's not a plan. There's not any sort of structure. We're gonna figure this out as we go. I have 100% no clue what I'm doing. I've never looked at this test. I've never seen it in my life.
So it's a
I'm gonna
learning
just
experience for us
show
all.
what I would do. I'm gonna give the answer first. I'm gonna show you the answer first, and then we'll work backwards from there and see why it is that answer, and we'll continue on from there with the justifications and things. So, starting off with number 1, the answer is C. And if we read the question here, at a restaurant, jars of tomato sauce are stored. Well, I should probably make this quieter now, but you know, there we go. At a restaurant, jars of tomato sauce are stored in boxes in the pantry. Each box contains 8 jars of tomato sauce. A cook uses 2 jars from one of the boxes. Which function shows the relationship between y, the total number of jars remaining in the pantry, and x, the number of boxes in the pantry? Now I gotta think about it. So each box contains 8 jars, and he uses 2 jars from one of the boxes. So if the answer is C, it's this one, 8x minus 2. Okay, so how many are left in the pantry? That makes sense. So if there's 8 jars in each one of the boxes, so one box has 8, that's always going to be our 8x, right? So 8 times x, that'll tell you how many jars, because multiplying the amount of jars that are in one box times the amount of boxes will give you the amount of jars. So let's say we have 2 boxes, 2 times 8, 16, there you go, 16 jars. And because the cook used 2 of the jars, since he already used 2 of them, that means we're going to have to subtract our 2 here. So that's how we get the -2, which would be our y-intercept, because this is y equals mx plus b, so that form. And if we look at our justification over here, it says option C is correct. To determine the function that relates y, the number of jars of tomato sauce in the pantry, and x, the number of boxes, the student could have multiplied the number of jars per box by the number of boxes, so 8 times x, and then subtracted the jars the cook used. So that's what the official justification is. And yeah. What, Scott?
That's kind of cool. It gives you the justification.
Yeah, it gives you the justification and everything.
Yo, split screen that.
Could split screen. Okay. So moving on, that's why that one is this one. So just reading the question and plugging in the different things, you just gotta know that whatever is like being multiplied with something else is likely gonna be the variable thing.
Also,
so this one right here, this looks to be one of our simplifying expressions, or not simplifying. What's it called? What is this called, Scott? This is called
Oh, I don't know. Turn down the music.
But what's it called?
I don't know. I want to say.
Factoring. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. So.
Yeah, it's that. Yeah, it's that.
Each one of these can be divided by 7. It looks like. So okay. Starting off with the answer, the correct option is G. This is our answer here. We see that. Let's see. That would mean that we have a 7. Okay, so starting with how much we can simplify it, we could get our 7 from here. So how would I show this? This is the thing with math. I can't really show things. So don't even try and look at this review later because it's not going to be worth it.
I mean, you could just use like some Word doc or MS Paint.
Yeah, I could, but.
Or maybe just get a stylus.
Yeah.
It's too late for that. So yeah, anyways, a 7 can go into each one of these. I'll just read off the justification because that probably makes more sense. So to determine the equivalent expression, the student could have determined that 7x is a common factor. So yes, we see a common factor here. We determine common factor by just seeing what can be taken out of each of these. So 28 can be divided by 7, and that'll give us a whole number, which would be 4. 35 can be divided by 7, that gives us a 5, and we see that each of these do contain an x, with x being our biggest common factor, variable-wise. So that's how we get our 7x.
Gabriel.
Yeah.
Title of the stream still says science.
Yeah.
So oh, whatever, it's fine. That's not what's important.
It's in your sweetie.
Yeah, people are gonna click off now.
Well, that's fine.
Did you mention the -7?
Scott, can you just keep up with the chat, because I can't keep up with chat, and
I'll keep up.
if there's anything important, then tell me, please.
Well, a Abai said that's some hot music playing. So.
Can't even lie.
It's obvious. Yeah, it is obvious it's algebra. I'd assume that you'd know that. So, okay, going back to this, sorry. So if we divide this one by the, like, -7x thingy, then that makes, whenever, you can still divide this by -7x, and that'll just give you the -5. So we will have 4x plus 5, I'm assuming, is that? So then that part just gets added right here. Not right there, sorry, right here. And that's why it's that. But yeah, okay. Because this one makes sense right here. If we had this, then you can also look at the problems, obviously. You can factor it backwards if you will. So the 7x times the -5, that would give us a -35x. So that's why it isn't h, even though h and g are really similar. That's why it's not this one. Same thing with this one down here. Our -7 times a 5 would give us a -35, and that's not what we're looking for here. Looking for a +35. And this one over here does give you the 35 right here, so 7 times 5 gives you your 35x. But whenever you multiply the 7 times the 4, you see that it does not give you a -28, making g the only one here. That's why it's that one. Moving along, question tree. Which graph best represents a system of equations that has no solution? So for this one, whenever there's no solution, a solution is where they're gonna cross. And if we look at D is our answer. And the reason why it's D is because if you see these lines, you can pretty quickly see that they're very parallel. Those are parallel lines. And if they never intersect, if they never touch, then they are not gonna have a solution. So A, our solution would be right there. Solution would be right there. And if you see these right here, they're inclined towards each other. So eventually, at some point, maybe not on the graph, not on our small little graph, but somewhere over here, they will intersect, meaning that they will have a solution. So that's why it's D, because they're parallel. Which statement about the graph of y is equal to 8 times 0.25x is true? Okay. This is where stuff gets interesting, because my brain works very strange. Okay. So starting off with the answer, option G is correct. So this would be our answer right here. I don't know. I wouldn't really understand this. We can come back to this though. Someone please write that down to come back to 4.
Got it.
Thanks. Okay, so we'll come back to 4 in a second. I gotta think about that. What is the range of y is equal to -x squared minus 2x plus 3? Okay. So if we go down to 5, it says that option C is our correct answer here. I'm pretty sure that if you pop this into the TI Inspire, I'm pretty sure it'd give it to you, honestly. Here, let's see. Did that switch, Scott? I won't really know until like a little bit later. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it did, hopefully. So we go to, I think it's this button? Yeah, it is that button. And we go to the graphy thingy, maybe? I think. Would it be this one? Okay, I think it is. So then under this thingy, and then I guess this would be a. It wouldn't be a function. I mean, I guess it could be a function. I don't know. This is different from RTI Inspire, so that's strange.
That's probably how you did the other question too, Gabriel.
What?
That's probably how you did the other question.
It probably is, honestly. Let's see if this works. If this doesn't work, then I'd probably type it as a relation, and that'd probably work. Okay, so I mean, I guess that kind of works. This right here, just to make, like, for simplicity's sake, what I do is most of the time, window setting, just change this to like -10. That way it's all even, or else you're gonna get like weird numbers. I mean, you can basically see 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, like, it's talking about the range. So, if we go back to first thingy, if it's talking about the range, it's not going to be x, right? Because range refers to the y. So, and anyway, with a quadratic function, whatever they're called, it's the domain would always be all real numbers anyway. So these two do not make sense. So if we then go here, we see that the thingy is pointing down, right? So we see here that 1, 2, 3, 4. So because we have a 4 right here, it's less than 4. Going back to the question, y is less than or equal to 4. So that would make sense over here because all the y numbers are going to be below the 4 or equal to. So that's why it's that one. Moving along, which expression is equivalent to thingy for all positive values of k and r? This is where it gets fun, isn't it?
Yep.
Yep. Because does Gabriel remember how to do everything off the top of his head? Nope.
TJ.
I mean, if TJ boy wants to intervene, I don't care. Let's see, what's the correct answer? So the correct answer is F, and I'm going to just read off what the thing says. So to determine an equivalent expression, the student should have recognized that half represents a square root. So a value that when multiplied by itself is equal to a number under the therefore. Okay. That makes sense, sort of ish. Not really, but you know. Okay. Okay, yeah, okay. I can explain that sort of ish. So what it's saying about this one is that if you do 144 thingied, then here, I'm gonna just pull up the calculator again, because that's probably easier. So if we do the 144 and then the caret times the 1/2, that should give us 12. So we see here that, well, we just have to do that with basically all of these. So the same thing would apply here, except that instead of multiplying it by the k, you'd be multiplying by the exponent, which would make it, if we go back to our other window, sorry, it's like a big old mess. Because like,
Papa Gabriel,
go back to what?
I have no idea.
When y'all comment, please like make sure it's like a very complete comment, or else I'm gonna be confused. Well, anyway, whatever happens here is that the same way that we did it in Mr. Wright's class, the way that he told us, it would be this half times the number of the exponent. So half times 2 is 1, making it just a k, and then half times 14 is equal to 7. So that's how we get the 12kr7.
Go back to the question, because you used a fraction, and Natalie is now confused.
Yeah. if you just, okay, for numbers, for whole numbers like this, if you have a number and it's asking you to do this to it, then just put it into the calculator. Just, if we go to this other screen, right, you have your 144, and it says that we're multiplying it by the 1/2, or the exponenting it? I don't know, English. You just do the caret, right? Now we're up here. Go to here. You can get your little symbol there. 1/2, right? And then that'll give you your answer for that. So that's how you get the whole number. And then once again, just the half times the exponent number. That gives us a 1. Half times the 14 gives us a 7.
That makes sense.
So that's how we get our answer of f. Continuing down the line, the graph shows the height in feet of an object above the ground t seconds after it was launched from the ground. Which function is best represented by the graph of this solution? I mean, assuming that it passes through like really solid points, we could just do the same thing that Mr. Wright told us to do with the calculator. So going back to the other window, where is it? It's here. Going to here. No, not to here, sorry. So we'd close out of that. We don't want to save that. And then if we go to the list and spreadsheet thing, we name this thing X, name this thing Y, and then our first point would be 264. And our next point would be 148. Well, okay, well, this is off. This needs to go over here. But you know what I mean. Yes, I'm using like copy and paste. Don't even worry about it. Because this all needs to be moved down like one level. Just pretend like this makes like this is not what it should look like final product. Just saying. So 1 we had 48. 2 we had 64, and then 3 would be also 48. And I just realized that I now have to move all of that all the way up again, so that's fun. And then delete this, sorry. It's because like I'm not good with calculator, but you see what I mean. So these points right here correspond to our points over here. So we have a 148, a 264, and a 348 because it's makes a little parabola shape. If we then go back over here, we can do our menu, statistics, stat calculations. Oh, oops, that's not what I meant to click. So menu, stat calculations, and then I think it's quadratic regression. We just label, once again, our X and our Y list.
Yeah.
And then we click OK, and that'll give us our thingies, I think, if I did this right. And if we do that, then we see that, huh?
Should be C, right?
Which would be, we'll find out, because I'm going to look at the key now.
Are you just now looking at it?
I'm just now looking at it. Yes, option C would be correct. And that corresponds to what we had on our little graph, or what the calculator told us. We see over here it says negative 16t squared. So that would be our A. Our A is going to be our squared thingy, so negative 16 right there. And then if we go over here, we see that we also have our 64, which would be our B. And that's our B right there. So A has the x squared, B has the just singular x, and then the C is the other number, but the one without any x at all. Yeah, I can give y'all a link to it. Why not?
Oh, I was just about to link it.
Yeah, link it if you will, Scott. The test copy. If y'all want to look at the test copy as I'm going or whatever, if you're on like PC or something. So yeah, that's how we get that answer. A lot of these things can be done on the calculator, which makes it real easy. Okay, moving on. What value of n makes the equation of 4 times half n minus 3 equal to n minus, well, okay. So in other words, what this one is asking is just to solve the equation. Now, you could do this by hand. I'm not going to do this by hand. I don't think anyone's ever going to do this by hand, again, now that we have calculator. So we'll just go back to our Scott? Oh, okay, I was like, the video died for a second, I was like, what? Okay, going back to what I was doing. Okay, so for this one, we just go back to our little home page, right, on the calculator. Home page, calculate, and if we go down here, we're gonna click menu, algebra, and numeric solve. Sorry, that went really quickly. So menu, 3, and then numeric solve. And now I need to delete all of that because I made a big mess. So once again, menu, 3, and then 1. We can then just put our little thing that's asking us to do into the little parentheses. So I'm gonna just read it out to you. You just gotta trust me right now. So 4, and then we have our little parentheses, 0.5 n minus 3 parentheses, close parentheses, equal to n minus 0.25 open parentheses 12 minus 8n close parentheses, and then we gotta tell it what we're trying to find. So we put a comma and then an n, and this should do it unless I type something incorrectly. And yep, there it is. So we see here that after typing it into the nsolve, we get -9 as our answer. If we go back on over here, or if we look at the key that I have open, we see that for question 8, option G is correct. So -9. This one, really simple. Just put it in the calculator and bam, you got it. Now time for a sip of water before I like die of headache.
Don't die now. We still need these.
I know, right? We're only on question 8, and then we skipped like 4.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I think it was 4. I don't really remember.
Yeah.
Okay. In a sequence of numbers, fun. So, I'm assuming this is the question that he hasn't taught us about. That sounds like the question he hasn't taught us about. Let me just read it real quick. Okay, work backwards from the given value of x. Okay. Okay, well here, I'm gonna just let y'all know. For our own like purposes, I don't think he's taught us this right here. At least I don't know how to. I've never seen anything like this, so I'm assuming this is the one that we're gonna get to. Assuming that this is the same test that we're taking tomorrow, if you do want this answer, the option correct is C, and I'll just go ahead and read off what the item says. I'm not expecting anyone to get it. I mean, if you get it, then I guess you're smarter than me. Good job. So to determine which equation can be used to find the nth term in the sequence, A, subscript n, the student could have used the pattern or the sequence to determine the common difference, the distance between each number in the sequence and the initial value. A number where the sequence begins, A0, times, period. Examining the sequence 0, 6, 12, 18, 24, the student could see that the common difference is 6. So you're adding 6 to the thingies. The student could also note that A3 is the third number after blah 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 blah. So basically, he hasn't taught us this. Answer is C.
I see how it works.
Moving on to question 10. The value of y varies directly with x. So this is a direct variation. If x is equal to 3, then y is equal to 21. What is the value of x when y is 105? Okay, so since it's a direct, it's direct, so that means that there's not any plus or minus anything. So we could just divide here, right? So we could divide the 21 by the 3. And I'm gonna just do this way that I would do it. If if it's talking about a direct variation, that means there's no plus, there's no minus, there's no nothing. It's just if x is this, then y is that, and it's always going to be some sort of multiplication thing. So what's the opposite of multiplication? Division. So in order to solve this one, we go to our calculator here. Our y is 21, and if we just divide that by our 3, we see that our slope is 7, I believe. So for every 1x, so if x is equal to 1, then it's 7. If x is equal to 2, then it's 14, 3, 21. So then 105.
Hey, Gabriel, I think you need to post a link because I don't think I can post links.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'll do it in a second.
Yeah, you have posted it.
So then we have our 105y, right, divided by our 7, and that tells us that our x is 15. And now I just got to double check that I actually did that correctly and that I'm not totally lying to everyone. So yes, option J is correct. So once again, direct variation, just divide these two numbers to find the slope. So yeah, it'll always be multiplication if it's direct variation. There will not be any addition. So just dividing will give you the slope kind of ish. Or you could do it like the way that Miss Sylvie does it sometimes with her little like cross multiplication thing or whatever. So like 3 over 21 and then x over 105. Just cross multiply and do that thing. Which, you know what, I might as well just do an example of that, because why not? I don't have like high hopes that it'll work because I don't, you know, I don't do that ever. But, you know, just for those who have been using that method, it is well, okay, for our sake, 21 over 3 is equal to, because it's a direct variation, so once again, that would make it an equal sign. Is equal to our, if we had another one of these, 105, and this is just for display purposes. Don't put this into your calculator, because I don't think it'll do anything. It'll just give you like a syntax error, over x. And I mean, you could, the other thing that you could do to solve this is numeric solve on this. But yeah, 21 times x, 3 times 105, whatever, you do that thing, then it gives you like 315 divided by like 21 or something. Let me see if that does anything. I might be onto something here. Yeah, okay. So if you multiply that out and you do that cross multiplication stuff, then that works too. And for the numeric solve thing, you could set it up that same way. And if you go to Algebra, numeric solve, we do our, let's just copy this real fast, because I don't want to retype this. So we have our little equation there, and then we just tell it that we want to find x. It'll tell us that our answer is 15. So once again, a lot of these can be found just by typing it into the calculator, and I'll post the link now. Sorry, I've been delaying that. And if you do have questions, because the thing with this is the link that I'm gonna send out is that it's just all the tests. There's not like really one. So I'm just letting y'all know that. Y'all are gonna have to scroll down to the one that says Algebra 1 under high school, and it's gonna say 2018.
That should have sent. I'll go ahead and post that in chat.
Okay, I'm posting it in a second. I'm going right now. So just 1 second, y'all. Just gotta get to it, y'all. Sorry. Like, really though, this is gonna be such a pain if you're like watching this later on, because there's so much ramble because of how unprepared I was. Here you go. There's the link, y'all. There's the link. If you missed it, then you missed it.
You guys can see that.
I sure hope so too, or else I'm very afraid of how blind you might be. Okay. Moving on. Moving back on over here. Next question. Which expression is equivalent to x squared minus 17x minus 60? And this is where we do our little thingy to...
Factoring.
Yeah, factoring, sorry. very correct. This would be nice to have in like drawing thingy, because it's like so much easier for me to write it, but it's just two numbers that add up to form this number, but multiply to make this number. So we'll start off by getting the answer real fast. So the answer is A. The correct option is A. And we see that how do I explain this? It's kind of like, so since it's a negative, then the two numbers can't be negative. So we'll start with that. So if our C is a negative number, then the two numbers obviously cannot be negative, because two negatives equal a positive. So it's instantly not B, not C. So we're either left with A or D. Second thing that we want to check, do these two numbers multiply together? So negative 20 times our 3, does that equal our negative 60? This one does. So 5 times negative 12, that also equals our negative 60. So we're good there so far. And the next thing that we want to check is, do they add up to form this number? So negative 20 plus 3, okay, that's equal to negative 17. 5 plus our negative 12, that does not add up to our negative 17. That adds up to 7, I think, negative 7. So negative 17 and negative 7 are not equal. So once again, if these two numbers do not add up to make this number, then it is not right. If these two numbers do not multiply together to make this number, then it's also still not right. And this x squared, usually with these questions, I'm pretty sure it'll stay mostly like this. If not, then it'll have the number out here. That like, okay, that's other stuff. We're getting too complicated. But yeah, if it's like these and there's not a number on the outside, then it will more than likely almost always just be an x, and that's how you get the little x squared. You could also just go ahead and multiply these together if you wanted to do the whole like FOIL method or the box method. If you like really got desperate and you had no clue what you're doing, just go ahead and do that for all 4 of these, because it might be worth, like, you know, it might take up a lot of time, but it's probably better than getting the question wrong, because one question could make a very big difference between you passing or failing. So please do take your time. Moving on to question 12. Go to our little key down here. We see that option G is correct. I haven't read the question yet, but a zookeeper recorded the feelings scheduled for a baby rhinoceros every 20 weeks. The table and scatter plot show the percentage of the baby rhinoceros's body mass that was used to determine the amount of food given at each feeding as a linear equation, or not linear equation, linear function of its age in weeks. What is the best prediction of the percentage of the baby rhinoceros' body mass that should be determined, that should be used to determine the amount of food given at each feeding when it is 25 weeks old? What do I want to do for this? Okay, so if it's G says it's 6%. So, oh, okay, that makes more sense. So this is just kind of saying, like, this is percentage. So this is like, this would be 5%, 10%, 15%, 20%. These are the weeks. So 25 would be like right here, literally right there. There's some things that we could do to like instantly eliminate some, because we see that it's a linear function. That means it's going to be pretty consistent with just like going straight down. If it's already going straight down, there's not going to be a swoop, so it's not going to just level out at some point, because it is a linear function. That's the y is equal to x, or y is equal to mx plus b, that thing, that's what that is. So we can tell that it's not going to be 10, because 10 is above this number. Once again, going back to the swooping thing, it's not going to be a very big drastic change if it's only going, if we see the trend here, we're seeing that it's going like right here, and then going down maybe just a little bit, like just barely going down, gradually going down. So it's not going to just jump all the way down to 2.5. Like, it's not going to go from here to all the way down here if it's a linear function. So it's not H, it's not J, because that would be meaning it's staying the same, and that can't be right either. Then there's 8.5, which would be more reasonable, but if we look at it here, that right there is really 8.5, basically. Where is it? 20 is 9. So if this right here is 9, then it's not gonna. If you're looking at the trend here, you can also see that it's not going down. So it's just kind of which one makes more common sense. You could probably also pop all of these into the calculator using the chart. Let's see, what does the thing say? So yeah, it's just it's best prediction probably. So that's what the question is saying. Anything. So you just gotta kind of use your knowledge of the way that a linear function would work, because these are not all exact, because it's a kind of a is this a scatter plot? No, I don't really know. But since these aren't exact numbers following an exact line, then this you can't plug these into a calculator. But you just gotta kind of use the common sense. So once again, it can't be 10% because that'd be going up, and it's been going down this whole time. It's not gonna be 2.5 because that's too drastic of a change based on the previous. Can't be 8.5 because we're already basically at 8.5. So if you see here, it's been going down by maybe like 2 or so, sort of ish, depending. So ranging from 1 to 2 going down. And if we subtract that from that, it wouldn't really make sense for it to be 8.5. It'd make more sense for it to be 6, if that makes sense. Or at least with the common trend. So from the 11 to 9, that'd be -2. So we'd assume that it'd go again to being like -2, and that would make it G as our more likely option.
Didn't you say that you have like a paper with the explanations on it?
Yeah, and the explanation is literally make your best prediction.
Yeah, but where?
That would be your justification sheet. It's in the link that I posted.
Oh, is it?
Yep. Okay, continuing on. What are the domain and range of f of x is equal to -37? So, well, I mean, to visualize this, I'm just gonna throw this into the calculator real fast. With a lot of these, I'd recommend that you do that, just to get a visual idea of what it's gonna look like. Let's go on here and do. Oh, oops, that's not what I meant to do. Shift 2.
Good job.
Yeah, I know. That's like my old server's IP address. My old Minecraft server. Okay, leave me alone. So we go here, menu, algebra. No, that's not what I wanted. Sorry. What am I doing? Oh, what am I even doing, y'all? Okay, sorry. You go to graph, and then that's where we get our little graph thing. Assuming you're not already there, menu, 3, and then 1. We just pop in our -37. Bam. And I did literally nothing. Haha, fun. That means I probably did something wrong. If I'm honest with you. What?
You're not a good example.
Yeah, I know. Oh, you know, okay, I'm dumb. So, let's first look at the answer sheet. That's probably a better idea here. Because I need to think about what I'm doing right now. So option D is correct, and that makes sense, sort of ish. The reason why it's D, and the reason why it did not show up on our graph, is because, here, I'm gonna just so y'all can see it on the graph. If we go to menu, we resize our window to be really, really tall.
I don't think it's showing, Gabriel.
What?
Not on stream. Not showing.
What's not showing?
The graph.
Oh, yeah, it probably isn't. Okay, sorry. Menu 3, that's, what am I, okay. This is honestly what I'm like during the test too, like, y'all don't even know. It's so bad. Okay, so, if we see, it was just really far out. And the reason why is because this is basically saying y is equal to -37. And whenever we see that y is equal to -37, that's just going to be a straight line through the y. Same thing would be if it said x is equal to -37. It'd just be a straight line, but on the x-axis. So, now that we see this, we see that's just an infinite line covering all of our domain, all of our x values. So that would make our domain, going back to our question, all real numbers. So if it's not all real numbers, then it's not right. Because it is, once again, it is gonna cover every single number that can be found there. And then next we see that our we talk about our range here, and there's, if it was the way that you determine the range thingy is like, let's see, I'm gonna go back to the other one. It would be going from left to, or like from bottom to top. Y is sorry, y is, how do I even write this? Okay, so it's the number down here. So for this, it'd be just, it'd just be -37. But for, if it was like a line that did something else, like what's a good example of it? Well, we'll come across one, and I'll talk about it when we get there. But for now, just know that because we're not going to any other y values, and we're just staying on this one line, it's only going to be a range of -37. If it covered a span of different numbers, like what it's saying in here, so all real numbers greater than or equal to -37. So this would be saying that, like, it's like a, how would you, it's like a block. Just know that if it's a line, it's just going to be the -37 because it's not touching anything else. That's all I'm going to say for there. This one is probably better to explain it on, even though that's not what the question is asking for this one. So on here we have it, the minimum point is -6. So right here it'd be -6 and then a less than or equal to sign. Less than, greater than. Okay, I'm gonna just draw it out because like I'm like confusing myself now. If we go back to calculator, it would be -6, right? -6 is, let's go here. Y.
I'm gonna go ahead and go. I'll come back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. See ya.
Yeah. Bye.
And then this would be the all real numbers thing. So what it's saying is that the y is always going to be, the number is going to be greater than or equal to -6, and we see that over here. So that's what that range thing is all about. It's just telling you that that the y is greater than or equal to the -6, and then it's going to just continue going up. That it'll cover all of these y values. But because this one over here only covers -37, it can't be a range like this one. It would just be the single number. Moving on to the next question. What is the value of n? Okay, sorry. If k of x is equal to x squared, and p of x is equal to kx plus n, what is the value of n? That is a very good question. So let's consult the key. Because that's what all good people do. This is question 14, and it says that to determine the value of n, the student should have recognized that k of x is equal to x squared, which is the quadratic pairing function. Yep, we got that there. So this is our quadratic pairing function, which has a vertex, which blah, 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 blah. The vertex, the quadratic function p, shown on the grid, is 6 units below. What? Oh, okay. You know what? That makes sense. That makes sense. Never mind. This is talking about like the translation thing. So, whenever you translate it with like the plusy thingy or whatever, because whenever it's talking about adding something to it, not like multiplying it, because multiplying it would be changing the like the bigness of it. What do you call it? The vertical compression or stretching. So this one is just adding. So that's what's changing our thingy. I don't know how else to explain it. It's basically just like answer C. That's I don't have anything else to say on that. Just know that if it's adding something to the like end result, because this would be our y, so it's like y plus n. Just know that if it doesn't have like the x next to it, then it's probably just, if it's just like a number, like this would be. So if n represented a number, like say it was 8 or 6 in our case here, because we see it's 6 right there, right? It's just talking about like the y the vertex point basically. So it's -6. That's what I'm gonna say for that, because I don't think I'm qualified to say anything else on that question, and I would not like to give incorrect information. Next question, 2 customers went to a post office to buy postcards and large envelopes. Each postcard costs the same amount, and each large envelope costs the same amount. Drink some water. The first customer paid $12 for 14 cards and 5 large envelopes. Second customer paid $24.80 for 10 postcards and 15 large envelopes. What was the cost in dollars of each large envelope? Okay, so this is talking about our different ways of solving for our like x and our y. So in this case, it's talking about what the two different prices would be for this. So I'm gonna just write out these equations as they would be, and in our calculator real fast, just to visualize them. It's not gonna solve it for you, but I'm gonna just type it out real fast. So we see here that we have, for $12, you get 14 postcards, or well, yeah, 14 postcards, 5 envelopes. So yeah, our total would be our $12, because it's saying that we paid a total of $12. The first customer did anyway. So $12, and they got the 14 postcards and 5 envelopes. So that means that we added these two, the total value of these two together to get the 12. So that's how we get this formula right here. And then we need to pull out our second formula, which would be this one right here, which is our 24.80 for, sorry, so 24.80, that's our money, is equal to our 10p, so our 10 postcards, plus our 15 envelopes. And then we have to just kind of pick one here. Oops, sorry. Just kind of got to pick one here. And yeah. So the way that I would solve this is putting this into like, how do you say this? Picking one that has like just move one of the variables over. So I'm gonna just pick this one for example, and I'm gonna use the solution that I would most likely use on a test, even if like this isn't the most practical one. This is what I would do personally. So we need to find out what like a 5e would be. So that this equation right here is the same thing as saying 5e is equal to 12 minus the 14p. So that's the basic idea there. So then we would simplify that by like doing e is equal to, let's insert this real fast, 12 over our 5, plus, what was I doing? Sorry, minus our 14 do I even math right now? 14 over 5. because we're dividing all sides by a thingy and then p or whatever. So then that would be that thingy. So then we have an equation that we can use to find, that we can then plug into this other one. So we already used that equation, so then we'd use it. Forgive me, but I'm gonna just write it out on paper, because or else I might just confuse myself and then it's gonna be bad and then we're gonna be lost. So 1 second, let me get a pencil. Plan B, there's no pencil. Well, okay. So then you'd take this, right? You'd plug it into this one. And do y'all want to see how that's done? Or are y'all okay with just like leaving it at that? Is everyone like good enough at doing this that they would not need me to go over this portion of it? Like, I could try drawing it out in, like, Microsoft Word or something. It's gonna be really poopy, though. Paint, maybe? We'll see. Okay, this might work. Yeah, okay, this'll work, never mind. Solution found. So, going back to what I was saying, we have our we had our 14p plus 5e is equal to our 12. Right, so then what we did was we moved this over, or yeah, we'll just do that. So our 5e was then equal to 14p, negative 14p, plus 12. So then we divided it all by 5, so that gave us negative 14 over the 5p plus 12 over 5. Like, I promise this is gonna get messier as it goes, so just bear with me. So then we plug that into our other equation, which our other equation was 24.8 is equal to 10p. And then what was I doing? Plus 15, and then right here would be our e, but we're gonna substitute e for this equation that we have right here, because e is the same thing as this. So negative 14, oh gosh, negative 14 over 5 p plus 12 over 5. And now this is the equation that we can plug into the calculator using our numeric solve in our algebra thing. So if we then go to our calculator, and I'm gonna just read it off as I go, sorry. It'll be, the equation that we made was 24.8 is equal, okay, sorry, menu first, menu 3, 1, 24.8 is equal to 10p plus 15, open parentheses, then we need our little thingy, negative 14, oops, negative 14 over 5 times p plus And then we have another little thingy, 12 over 5. And then we want to know what P is. And we find out that our price for our P, which would be our, if we go back to our question over here, so P is equal to 0.35. If we go back to our question, we see that. So we have our postcard value now. So the last thing that we need to do is just plug in that value of P into the equation for the other equation that we use, and we can find out the number of, or the price that the envelopes then cost, and then we are good. And that'll be the last step for this problem, because we're trying to find the large envelope price. So going back to our equations, we see that we have, you could probably just plug it into this one right here. So what we're gonna do is just 14 times 0.35. I know that's a bad 5, just whatever, I'll fix it, sorry. I don't know why I wrote it like that. So then plus 5e equals to 12. Then all we gotta do is just plug that into the calculator. So let's go ahead and do that. And on here we go menu 3-1 for the last time. So we have 12 is equal to 14.35 plus 5e. Oops, that's not a plus. Plus 5e. And then what are we trying to find? We're trying to find the value of e. So we put comma e. And we find out that it's 142. Going back to our little problem over here. And we see that that corresponds with our answer key, making it option A with $1.42. So does anyone need that repeated or anything? Make it known now, or else I'm not gonna know to come back to it. Give it a couple seconds because I know it's delayed. Speak now or forever hold your whatever the rest of the thing says. Nope, we good? Okay, sounds good to me. Moving on, question 16. The water level of a river was measured each day during a 2-week period. The graph models the linear relationship between the water level of the river in feet and the number of days the water level was measured. So which statement best describes the y-intercept of the graph? Well, that's fairly easy. Okay, sorry, I had to do something. We're on question 16, and the answer is H. So this is just asking for a y-intercept. Y-intercept, where does the line cross the y-intercept or the y-axis? We see that right there. It's right on our 16. So right there, it's making 16 our y-intercept. Fairly easy question right there. Hopefully none of y'all missed that. Hopefully none of y'all miss any of these questions. So I'm giving out free answers. Well, I mean, assuming this is the same test, but you know, we'll see. We'll see tomorrow. There are 1,000. Okay, question 17. There are 1,024 players in a tennis tournament. Each round, half the players are eliminated. Which function can be used to find the number of players remaining in the tournament at the end of X rounds? So, okay. This is gonna be our interest growth thingy formula. You can find that up here if we go to our little formulas thing. Or I guess not. I guess, oh, that's the one formula that isn't on there, so they should give it to us. No, that's not true. Okay, no, fine. I see how it is. Test. well, anyway, if we look up our exponential, because this is an exponential decay, so we see that this is exponential decay. The reason why it's exponential decay is because we see right here that we're eliminating players. So it's the thingy times the 1 minus r. So our starting number is always going to go on the outside of the parentheses. And then x is going to be our number of rounds. So this would be our time. So right here, total. What's the big number that you start with? What's the number that you're either taking away from or adding from? That's the one that's going to go on the outside. This in here, the way that we figure this one out is that we see what we're doing. So if we're taking away half the people, that means we're going to be putting half, well, okay, first let me make sure. Yeah. So if we're cutting the amount of people in half, then we're going to subtract from the 1, we're going to subtract 0.5, and then that gives us our 50. And then that'll just be the one thing that goes in our small parentheses, or in our parentheses, and then just multiply that by the amount of rounds, and bam, there's our equation, making it b, because we're having half the amount of people each time, and the number that we're using for that is the 1024. So that's why it's b. Moving on to question 18. Which statement about g of x is equal to x squared minus minus 576 is true? This is one of those where we see that this is one of our special case factoring thingies. I'll go ahead and say this way. If you see x squared minus a number, but you don't have a b, so our b number would be the number that has an x next to it. So if there's just a and a c, and the c is negative, then it's always going to be some sort of equation that's formatted like this. Our factors are going to be something plus something minus of the same number, and this will always be a perfect square. So, or should always be a perfect square for now. Thingy, and then 576. We see that it's 24. Going back to the criteria, it has to be a plus or minus, so it's just x plus 24, x minus 24. And that's why it would be h. And one thing to remember, that whenever you get to the last step where you have our x plus 24, x minus 24, do remember that right now it obviously doesn't matter, because whenever we change this into our roots, the numbers stay the same because we have one positive, one negative. But if you happen to come upon a question that gives it to you like this, and they're asking for the roots, do not say plus 24 and like, okay, let's pretend this is 8 and this is 3. Do not say plus 8 and then minus 3, because root form is subtracting. So that would mean that this is positive, that's negative, but that's not relevant to this question, just forward, if you will. So yeah, 18H. Moving on to question 19. Sorry. Okay. How do I do this again?
Oh, are you
No. What's the thingy for relations again?
Oh, saving. Isn't it like slope intercept? No?
Yeah, but it's. I was looking for relations, but whatever. It's okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
In other words, so this you would just put it into the calculator under relations, I think, and it would pop out the. It would literally tell you. It would literally tell you what the answer is. So you just find which one corresponds to the thing. My calculator, the one that I'm using right now, it only has function. So I could like
You can tease your way out of it.
I could convert this into thingy. So I'm gonna just do that real fast and like Paint real fast. Yeah, I know, we're using Paint. I'm sorry.
Use Paint 3D.
What?
Use Paint 3D.
Why?
Because it's 3D Paint.
How do I clear this? Look, I don't use Paint. Paint is not my thing.
It's basically just discount Photoshop.
Okay, let's just click the undo button until everything disappears. So in other words, just give me a second. We're just gonna clear this real fast. And we'll get there eventually, hopefully. No worries, y'all. Almost there. Ish, sort of. Okay, well, I got most of it
Dude,
done.
this is my favorite episode.
There's gotta be a way to clear this. I'm probably just being dumb right now. No, it's not that. Anyone know how to clear in Microsoft Paint? Scott, you know how to clear. Come on, stop lying.
What do you mean?
Okay, it wasn't that. Okay, we're almost there. We'll get there, hopefully.
Actually, I have no idea how to do it either.
Well, look it up, Scott.
How to clear all in Paint.
Okay, 1 second, y'all. We'll be right back after we figure this out real fast. Okay. Yeah, I'll just write it to the side, whatever, it's fine. So, in other words, negative 4x is less than thingy 6y minus 54. Is it really? Oh, it's sorry, I forgot to switch it over. I apologize, y'all. So what? There we go. That's the good brush. So we would just move this over. So it'd be negative 4x. The benchmark tomorrow is going to be 654, I think it is. I think that's what I heard from someone.
Yeah, it's that.
So, okay. So we have this, right? And, well, basically what I'm doing here is just changing this into something that I can actually put in the calculator without it screaming at me. So then this would be... This would then be negative 6y less than thingy 4x. That's a 4. 4x minus 54. Then last thing that we got to do is just divide everything by negative 6. We got to flip the thingy. Obviously, you wouldn't have to do this because you have the option of typing in a relation. I just don't, so I'm going to do this real fast. This would be 4 over negative 6 x, and then plus, oh, oops.
Why can't you just teach us? Like, this is so educating.
Plus 54 over our 6. I'm not going to include the negative signs because both of these are negative, so it makes a positive anyway. I'm going to just plug this into the calculator real fast, obviously. So over here, menu 3, 1, can clear this first one, we don't need it anymore. We'll make that one a... Ooh, what'd I do? What'd I do? Sorry, y'all. I'm not used to working with a calculator that's on my computer. So that one, and then we need our thingy. So we added a 4 over a -6. X plus 54 divided by 6. And now that we have that little line thing, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Okay. I think these are going by 5s. I'm not totally sure. Hopefully they are. But did I even do this right? I don't really know. I probably didn't. Okay. Well, you would put it in, and it'd give you a relation, and then everybody would be happy. And going back to here, some other things that you can essentially eliminate. So because we have an equal then thingy, that means that it's not going to be these because we haven't drawn the lines, and that doesn't make any sense with our equal then sign. And then if we see that it's, yeah, you'd have to plug it into the thingy. And you would get, for your answer, you would get A. A would be the correct answer here. Which is the same thing that I got on here, except that mine is just, like, different from y'all's.
Yeah.
It's not my fault. Okay. This one right here is another one of these that we can just throw into the calculator. So let's go ahead and do that real fast. And so it's just saying f of x is equal to 1/3 times 4 minus x squared. And what we will just do is just put in our 16 into the x spot, and then that'll give us our answer. So this is just a plug and play button thingy, menu. We want our numeric solve. We want to enter in what was I gonna? I don't even need numeric solve. What am I doing? Okay. We go to this thingy because we got to type out our little equation. 1/3 times our 4 minus 16. And then our caret squared. And I think it's 48. If not, then, you know, oops. Yeah, okay, so it is 48. That's the answer sheet, by the way. 48. So once again, if it gives you f of 16 or something like that, don't freak out. It's not telling you to do something crazy. Just plugging in that number into the x value spot. That's all that means. Just put that number into there, and then put it in the calculator, and bam, you got your answer. Moving on to question 21. The graph shows the linear relationship between the maximum area in square feet that can be painted and the number of gallons of paint used. Which of these best represents the rate of change of the maximum area painted with respect to the number of gallons? So rate of change, it's just talking about our slope here. Slope formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, and we basically just do that. Or the other way that we could do this is go into our little calculator again. Home, we could go to our little graph thingy. Yeah, we'll just start another one. Labeling our x and y. We can start with our first one, which would be 1/400. Did I even do? I'm pretty sure I did that wrong, but like whatever. It's y'all know what I mean. I don't think it matters because it's being consistent anyway. So, and then 3 1,200. I know y'all can't see the other screen, but just trust me for now. I'll show it in a second. And then menu, statistics, stat calculations, and then we just want our good old linear regression. Label our thingies. Make sure that you label them or else this will not work. And then we see that our slope which is our m. That is going to be 400, so that makes our answer C. Yeah. So over here, we see that 400 corresponds with our calculator over there. So yeah, m in linear regression, m is our slope, so 400 over there, and yeah, C. What are the solutions to x plus 7 squared is equal to 81? Okay, how do we do this? Okay, well, what this is saying is we could essentially just like square this out, and here I'm gonna just do that real fast. I think this is how you do this. Someone please correct me if I'm wrong. We can't just throw that into a calculator because it has x. You could also use the find real roots, so I'm gonna try that out first. Obviously, if that doesn't give us good results, then we'll switch over to the other thingy. But where is it? I think it's. Is it calculate? Maybe? I'm not sure. We'll find out here together, I guess. Oh yeah, polynomial tools. Find roots of the polynomial. We want real ones. Yeah, that would require us to factor it. So yeah, I'll just factor it. Whatever. Just do remember that what that right there is equal to. I really want to clear this like so bad.
Maybe just make a new one.
Yeah, that's what I just did. Yep, great. So that's the same thing as x plus 7 times x plus 7. Multiply that out. There we go. Little FOIL method, whatever. And that gives us our x squared plus, I think it's 14x plus 49. That's a 4, just so y'all know. So yeah, and then this could be put into our calculator. And does anyone need that repeated? So we just go down the list. Our b is 14. This is our 49. And we see that okay, that's so, oh, sorry. I forgot one more step. This would probably have killed me, but the last thing that we have to do for that problem would be subtract our 81. So 49 minus 81. Someone want to do that real fast? Just kidding, I can do it on here. Okay. What did I say it was? 49 minus 81? 49 minus 81. So negative 32. So then this is going over to this thing again. That would be negative 32. Simple correction, but or simple or small difference, but like very big different results if you don't put that in there correctly. So let's just copy this again. We'll paste that into there, and then just negative 32. And there we go. That should be our correct roots. And so yeah, so we have a negative 16 and a 2 right there. go over here, and we see that J lines up with that. Let's just double check that with our key here. And of course, J is our correct option. So once again, using your resources, make good use of that calculator. All of it's right there.
Calculator.
Yeah. So question 23, what appears to be the domain of the part of the exponential function graphed on the grid? So there's the line goes from here to here. This is going back to what I was saying earlier, so this can be explained more in detail. Let's go to File, New. We see here that it goes from the -1, so -1 is our smallest point, or our most further right point of the line of where it goes to. So we have -1, and then because it is a closed circle, it's fully bolded in. That means that it does touch that number, so we have a less than or equal to. And then we have our x because this is domain. We're looking for the domain. Then we need to find our farthest to the right. Sorry. So this was our farthest to the left, and now we need to find our farthest to the right, which would be our 3. So then we just, and once again, fully closed in, fully circled, bubbled in. And that equals 3 right there. So just gotta find which one lines up with that. And we see that A lines up with that, and A is correct option there. So just reading from left to right, -1 would be our farthest left, and then our farthest right, 3. If you just follow that honestly, then you can probably figure it out. And then just remember that if it throws into you, like if the difference between like the answers is not x and y, but like whether it's underlined or not, then just check and make sure that the circles are either closed or open. If they're open circles, then they need to be less than without the equal to, because they're not equal to. Okay. The tables of ordered pairs represent some points on the graphs of line Q and V, which system of equations is representative of by lines Q and V. Well, I don't really want to do this right now. Just saying cheap. Okay.
I mean, we only have like, we do have 7 people.
Oh, we have a lot of people, or not a lot of people. We have a lot left. Okay, let's just see what the answer is, honestly. So it's option G.
Just tell us the answers.
And I might just read the justification, because... Actually, here, I'll be right back. 1 second, y'all. Like 5 minutes, please.
Oh, 5 minutes?
Yeah, I don't want to, like, throw up, so 1 second. I'll be right back.
Oh, okay, yeah. You go. So, this is some nice weather we're having, guys. I have an idea. That's satisfaction.
Okay, I'm back now. Sorry, I had to throw up my entire dinner.
Oh.
Moving on. Question
Well, did
20.
you eat again?
Question 24. We'll come back to this. Yeah.
You still need to go to Quattro.
Yeah, we'll come back to this one too. Okay, which situation does not show causation? This one should be fairly simple. This is just talking about which one has cause and effect. So if it doesn't have cause and effect, then it's not causation. So which one of these two are not like related? So when there's more protein in the athlete's diet, the athlete scores more points in a game. I don't know. Okay, well first let's see what's the right answer is. So it's D because that, yeah, I was about to say that doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah, it's D.
Yeah, it is D. But sorry, I'll start from the top now. When the students' population at school increases, the number of teachers at the school increases. So yes, when there are more students, there is more teachers. When the amount of sugar in a quart of apple juice is reduced, there are fewer calories. So yes, less sugar, less calories. That makes sense. There are more workers on a project. The project is completed in less time. Yep, more workers. Quicker completion. That makes sense. So, and then last one, more protein equals more points scored. No, that does not make sense whatsoever.
I mean, it can.
But we gotta pretend like it doesn't.
Fair
So
enough.
in other words, it's D. Just check which one makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, then it's probably not that one. Or it's probably that one. That's the wrong one. Which function is equivalent to f of x is equal to negative 4x plus 7 squared minus 6x? That's a good question. Don't really care right now. I'm just being honest, honestly.
Should be the first one.
Think it is the first one. How do you even do these again? Like, honestly. Yeah, it is F. It's definitely F. So,
Well, like, you take that, and you do that.
do you, like, I think you exponent it first. So first
Oh, wait, yeah, you do that.
okay, wait.
But-
So, let's just do this the way that I think you're gonna do it, and then if we don't get that answer, then we'll
49.
we'll go back to it in a second.
Yeah.
So let's see this. I'm gonna scroll up, that way I have space. So x plus 7. We already did this one too. Like, this should be simple. Well, that's equal to our x squared 14x plus 49. That's such a bad 9. So then I think we multiply this by negative 4, I assume. So yeah, so it's just kind of PEMDAS.
Yeah.
So then we multiply that by negative 4. Does that make sense? So then we get a negative 4x squared. Not plus, sorry, minus. What's this number? 56? Minus 56x, and then 49 times negative 4. Anyone got that real fast?
Yeah.
So what is it?
I don't know.
I think it's minus
Yeah.
196.
Should be minus 202.
202?
Yeah, wait, hold on.
Yeah, and then the
Yeah.
last part of our equation is just to add this negative 6, so then we just add our negative 6 right there. Obviously, we combine these two because they are like terms, so this right there can go into, that just makes negative 202, making our final thing, minus 4x squared minus 56x minus 202, and that would be f. And once again, just really important thing to remember is that this isn't just like x squared and then 7 squared. You have to write this out, and you got to actually do the FOIL method, right, or the box method, whatever you are used to. Because if you just multiply x squared and then just add a 49, then you're not going to get your b results, and that would throw off your entire equation. So do not do that. Do not skip over that.
Or just have you do it.
Or just have me do it. Oh, there's so many more questions. I think I need to go throw up again in a second. So, a paper airplane was thrown from the top of a tall building. The height of the paper airplane above the ground can be found using the function y is equal to negative 1.5x plus 60, where x is the time in the seconds that the plane has been in the air. So, how long would it take for the plane to reach the ground? What I would say for this one is just, honestly, just throw it into the calculator again. And what's the thing that gives you the numbers?
A lot of stuff gives you numbers.
Well, yeah, Scott, but... Well, okay, you know what? You could just... Yeah, okay. So if you wanted the y to be 0, so we're trying to find what the y is, right? We want it to be 0. So what we would do is 0 is equal to that, I think. So let's just try that real fast. Hopefully that gives us a good answer, or else I'm just dumb. So we go to here, menu, 3, 1. 0 is equal to negative 1.5 x plus 60, and then we just want to know what our x is. Is it 40 seconds? I think that's going to be 40 seconds. Let's just double check with the key real fast, and yep, 40. So once again, the way that we did that is just inserting whatever we want our height to be right here. And because we want it to be 0, we just put 0 there, and then we plugged it into numsolve. You could also probably divide... No, you could divide that, never mind. Yeah, no, that wouldn't work. Yeah, just do that, honestly. Just put it into numsolve. That's how you would do this one. Yikes. How do I do this? Okay. How do we do this again?
I think it's something with like...
Okay, well first these we multiply them, right?
Yeah,
So
something like that.
so that would mean that, okay, I'm just gonna go based off of what I remember, y'all. Hopefully this makes some sort of sense. So that would make this, so 4 times our negative 3, that'd be negative 12, and then that over negative 15. Oh gosh. And then, oof, okay, how do we do this now? Well, let's see what the answer is. That'll probably help us out. Or help me out. Oh, I accidentally opened my craft. Oops.
H.
So this is, yeah, it's H. And yeah, I'll just pull up what it says on here. So it says that we have our, okay. What? Okay. Yeah, okay, no, never mind. That makes sense. Never mind.
Oh, yeah.
I think I need to throw up again, but okay. So we get our negative 12, right? And then it says that for our thingy over here, if we look at our negative exponent thing, we just kind of like move it, I think, or something like that. But point being that I don't remember how to do this question, and then we're just gonna go with what the answer said, and yeah, so it would just be that minus 15 somehow, apparently, gives you your negative, or your positive 3. And then, yeah, fun. It does have something to do with that other equation. If you want to look at that equation more in detail, then go look at it, but for the sake of simplicity, if you get this question wrong, then really this question probably won't kill you if you know how to do the rest of the material. Mr. Wright will probably go over this later, especially if we all get this one wrong, so, you know. There's your daily dose of encouragement. And one more second. I'll be right back.
Ooh, quality time with the viewers.
Scott, if you want to try and explain this one. Sure, go for it.
Oh god, no. Actually, I think it's... Hold on. Yeah, okay, so I guess I'm gonna step in. It's B. Why? Because A0 is basically the x-intercept, you know? And the only one that has only one of them is see A got 2 of them. And then C also has 2 of them. And then D just doesn't have any. Like, the boy's just floating. So it's B. Fun fact. I'm also good at algebra. Yeah.
Okay, sorry, after round 2 of barfing my guts out, basically. We move on to this question. Just by looking at this, I'm gonna say the answer is probably B. No, okay, it's H. Wait, am I looking at the right thing? Yeah, no, I'm not. Okay, yeah, it is B. So 1, 0, 1 root, 1 solution, all the same thing. So it's just wherever it crosses the x-axis. This one crosses 2 times, so 1, 2. So that one has 2, and this is asking for 1. 1, 2. So this one also has 2. This one never touches it at all, so it has no solutions. And we're obviously still looking for 1. And then this one right here, the vertex, is right on the x-axis. So that's why that one gives us a. That's why it's B, because the vertex is the 1 solution. Ooh, okay. So I think this is just a bunch of like moving the stuff around. One thing to remember, I'm gonna draw it out or whatever, but one thing to remember is that whenever you like divide negatives and stuff, that you have to flip the sign. So it'll make more sense when I show it, in case y'all don't remember. But negative 4x plus 10, 5x plus 55. There we go. First thing that I'm going to start off by doing is moving over our 10s, so we have negative 4x. That's all blah, blah, blah. 5x, and then if we move over our 10, we subtract 10 from each side. That gives us plus 45, so we're taking away 10 from there. Next, I'm gonna move. What? Okay, yeah. I'm gonna move both of these. I'm gonna move this one over here. So I'm gonna subtract negative 5x from each side. So we get negative 9x. So negative 5 plus negative 4, negative 9x, and then is equal to, or is negative 9x is greater than or equal to 45. And then the last thing that we got to do is just divide by our negative 9. So, and then for this we have to change the sign because we're dividing by a negative number. Flip the sign around, and then this is equal to a negative 5. And we see that answer choice H lines up with that. And yes, answer choice H is correct. So just simplifying what is already there. That's all that this one is. Simple stuff. Which expression is a factor of blah 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 blah. Oof. Okay, this is where it gets interesting. Because this is gonna be very interesting to draw. Basically, we just gotta find the different things that factor out to make the factors of this, and then find which one is on there. So bear with me. I'm gonna draw this out, and oh no, don't do that. Just gonna draw this one out. So let's start with a new sheet. So we're gonna use the slip and slide method here, I think. So we are 21x squared plus 13x minus 20. What we do is we take this 21 and we multiply it by this number, I think. Hopefully, anyway. So it gives us 13x. That was a poopy. 13x, and then that's a big number. Is that even how you do this? What? Okay, I'm gonna look this up real fast because I want to make sure I'm doing this right. Okay, yeah, that is how you do this. But that wouldn't make sense because that'd be a really big number. As y'all can see, my brain doesn't work right now.
Oh, I think mine died like 5 minutes ago.
Mine died when I threw up.
No, that's bad. No puking allowed.
Negative 420 is what the calculator says, so oh well.
Believe it.
Believe it or not. But that doesn't make any sense. That makes 0 sense.
Which are we doing? 31?
Yeah, because it's not a perfect square.
That would be...
Well, I mean... Okay. Clearly I'm doing something wrong, so just forget it. Well, the way that I'm explaining this is just that...
I believe it's B.
It's... Here, let's see. It is,
I don't know.
Yeah, it's B. It is B,
Oh,
but
okay.
it's just a justification part. So, first thing that we can see here is that we need two numbers that multiply up to 21. So, I mean, based on the answer choices, we can assume that's 7. and then a 3. Both of those would need to have an x because they make the squared. And then so that would give us our 2 bases. But then
Don't you do like the slip and slide?
yeah, you do the slip and slide, but like, what's slip and slide again, y'all?
I think that's when you like you take the A, you whack it against the table, and then
you multiply it by the C.
I don't know. Yeah, it's something like that.
And then you factor, but that okay. Just know that the answer is C. That's what matters right now.
B.
If y'all want, I'll try and figure out an answer by tomorrow. But right now, I'm kind of brain dead, so rip. What are the equation and slope of the line on the shown on the graph, on the grid? Sorry. So.
Well, if it's just a line.
If it's okay, yeah, this is one of those where it's our special occasions, right? So this is a straight line. It's on the x-axis. So that would mean that it's going to be an x is equal to, because it's only on the it's a straight line on the x, not on the y. So that would mean it's x is equal to 6. So it's either going to be g or j. And the next thing that it's going to ask us is if it's undefined or if it's 0. And 0 would be if it was not moving anywhere. So if we had a line like this, that would be for our y's. So if it was y is equal to 6, then our slope would be 0. But because this is a line that goes infinitely up and infinitely down, there's not a number. It would be infinity, would be our slope, basically, kind of ish, sort of. So that's why it is undefined, and it is j. X is equal to 6, and the slope is undefined. In the year 1900, the total number of metric tons of copper produced in the world was 495,000. Each year since 1900, the total number of metric copper produced has increased on average by 3.25 over the number over the amount produced previous year. Okay, so in other words, this is just one of those questions where we have to use our growth formula thing. And once again, we take our number, so our big number, our base number that we're going to be changing, which should be 495. We then have our parentheses and then our 1, and because we are increasing, that's a parentheses, leave me alone, plus our 0.0325. Oh, that's a bad 3.
You're doing magic.
And then our years, which would be, this is just asking for the formula basically, so that would be our years would be up here. And when we add those together, we have 495 times our 10325 with our years up there, so that would make this our thing. And the only one that lines up with that is A, so 33A. Just plugging in the things into our formula for growth. What is the solution? So, okay, this is another one of those finding the solution. I'm not going to do this one because I'm going to assume that y'all know how to punch things into a calculator. Which function, okay, so 35, the graph of linear functions f and g is shown. Which function is best represented by the graph of g? So this one, we just gotta analyze our graph here. If we zoom in here, we can see that g, there's not gonna be our y-intercept is 0, so we shouldn't have any plus or minus anything. Oh. It's because it's relative to this thingy. Okay, fair enough. But this is just our parent function. If you see that, yeah, this is just a parent function, so that's not important right here.
Oh yeah, it is.
So basically it's just, I'm pretty sure it's a B. So reason why it's b is because if we just look at our slope, because once again there's not a y-intercept, the y-intercept is 0, so go up 1 over 3 right here, same thing. We got our 1 and our 3, and that's how we know that it is b, our slope of 1/3. Once again, this is just multiplying it out, so FOIL method or box method, multiply that out, that'll give you this. And for the sake of simplicity, 36 is F because I really want to sleep. So moving on, there are 15 plates.
There's anyone awake that's still watching.
The diameter of each plate is blah 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 blah. This one, once again, just plugging it into different things. So 7-inch plates. Okay, so using our information, it says that there are 15 plates, so we have 15 plates total, and x and y are going to represent our styles of plates. So x plus y is going to be equal to our 15, and then down here is going to be where we add in our numbers, so 7 times our x, because 7-inch plates times the x, and then 12 times the y, that equals our 140. It's just taking the numbers in here, putting them down here. Just make sure you understand that. Domain of a quadratic function is always going to be all real numbers. Quadratic function, all real numbers. G. Moving on to question 39. What is the equation that passes through to the perpendicular line that passes by? Okay. So perpendicular, we need to remember what that is. I forget how you do that. I think it's the negative reciprocal. So
that sounds right.
Basically what that means is that we're just gonna define what the perpendicular would be. It's just negative reciprocal. Scott, double check me please. So it'd be negative 5 over 2 would be our slope, and then if what we would do is then put this into point slope form. I'm not gonna do that for you, but you would then just basically move the different items from left to right until you end up with something that is y in y form. Remember that y cannot be negative. If you have something that looks like this, y, then like blah 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 blah. Sorry, that's a bad y. And then blah 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 blah. It cannot be negative, so make sure you are aware of that. But yeah, answer being
D.
D, is it? Yeah, that sounds about right. Next, which graph best represents 2, 5x. This one, you would honestly just put it into the calculator, put it into graph mode, which one lines up with the graph and the numbers, and then bam, there you go.
Should be F.
But then there's also another way that you can tell of whatever it is it G?
Oh, I think it's F.
Is it F? Well, let's see.
Yeah, it's F.
Yeah, okay, yeah, you're right. So basically what this just means that like this one, the number outside is our thingy? The one that it gets close to? Okay, well I think it is anyway, so whatever, it's this one. Just plug it into the calculator, you'll see it, don't worry. This is another one where we would just plug this into the calculator. Put that, so it gave you the equation right there. Just take this equation, put it into the calculator, hit, put the num solve, comma W, bam, and that gives you an answer of C, 8 feet. That's what the width is. So that's all you got to do. Linear relationship between the balance of a student's savings account and the number of weeks that he has been saving. Just looking at our information again. Okay, what is this? What was the rate of change? So for 42, the answer would be 7. Basically, what we're doing here is what you could do, honestly, is just take this 39, because we started with 32. Just take away this 32 from the 39, so that would be 1 is 7, and then 3 is whatever 53 minus 32 is. If you divide that out, it should give you 7, or you could do a slope formula, and that would give you the same answer, which would be 1 is 7. So 7 over 1, that is equal to 7, and that would make our answer 7 for 42. This one right here, just okay, how would we do this? What you could do is, if you wanted to be smart about this, make this a relation in your calculator. That would be, just show you all real fast. In your calculator, that'd be like menu 3, and then, or not, sorry, on your graph thingy would be.
Oh yeah, and just do like for each one.
Okay, you'd make it relation. Just make it for each one, and then use the y equals mx plus b for this part. And so your y-intercept is 5. Your slope is, looks like -3. And eventually you'd figure out that the thingy is a.
43. Yeah.
Okay, my health is very deteriorating right now, so 1 second. I'll be right back.
Don't die. Oh god, there's only 2 watching. Oh no, we did 3. Somebody left and came back.
Okay, sorry. Whatever. We'll just push through it. It's okay.
Yeah, we got like 10.
So first thing that we can note about this question is that this is a perfect square. So because it's a perfect square, we can just do this. So if you were to like put that under the square root thing, it'd give you 3. And then just r, and then that right there would be the start of our equations. Instant, yeah.
The whole thing.
What?
Doesn't have to be perfect throughout like the whole thing.
No, just for the first part, cause like, then it comes down to this. How does this work out? Because this does not affect this. I don't think. Anyway, I don't. Well, maybe no. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. Maybe I'm just dumb. What is the answer?
I think it's
Okay,
J.
yeah, it's option J, because if you then look at this, there's nothing that can make a -4r
Yeah.
with the 1, and yeah. So basically, yeah, that's what that would be. So there is literally nothing that would make that, so that's why it is J. Because nothing, no factors of 4, or no, yeah, factors of 4 would make a 1 whenever multiplied together, so that's why it is 4. It is J, sorry. This one, just put this into the calculator once again as a what's it called, a relation. It'll show you which side is highlighted and everything, and then you just gotta pick out the points. Where's the point? Locate it on the graph, and then just do it that way.
This should be an easy test, fellas.
So this question should be easy. Answer being B. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Okay, I'm not doing any more of these interest questions. I'm done with those. Daily cost of hiring plumber can be multiple blah 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 blah. Okay. Charges a fixed cost of 80 plus an additional cost of 45 per hour. So
I think you skipped 46.
yeah, I did. I'm aware.
Oh, okay.
What is the range of the function for the situation? So this is talking about the okay. So range. If we looked at this on a thing, because we have time and then money,
Wouldn't it be B?
time always is gonna go down here. So this down here would be our time,
Yeah.
and then this right here would be our money. So in other words, our range, which would be this ways like that, would mean that it'd be money. So it's gonna be starting at 80 because that's our base rate, right? So y is always gonna be either greater than or equal to 80, but always less than or equal to 444, and I'm assuming we get that by 45 times 8. So if we just do that over here real fast.
Hey,
45 times 8, oh, okay, that's not right then. What did it, 45 times 80? No. Oh, 45 times 8 plus 80 probably. Would that make more sense? Yeah, that would make more sense because we have to include the 45 or the $80 thingy. So 45 times 8 plus the 80 would make it the most you would pay, 440 per day. Making it B. No, we're so close. Let's transform the graph. Okay, so this is just talking about what happens whenever you do different things to the equation. First thing is a reflection, obviously, and then it would be a over the x-axis, sorry. So over the x-axis, not over the y-axis. It's not gonna go from being like it's not gonna go from being like this to then being over here. That wouldn't make any sense. It's always gonna go from being like this to being like that.
It's still on the graphing
Oh
calculator.
yeah, sorry. So yeah, it's never gonna go from being like that to then all of a sudden being like that. It's always gonna go from this to this. Unless it's like the B, but that's not what it's talking about here. And then it's gonna be a the answer is gonna be F because it's a horizontal stretch, so we're stretching it farther apart because we're dividing it. So whenever we are dividing it, it's basically like saying that we're multiplying it by 0.25, I think that's what that is. Don't quote me on that, but it's like saying that you're multiplying it by 1/4. So that's why it's a horizontal stretch, and that would make it F. We already went over something similar to this one, so I'm gonna go ahead and skip this. This is just same thing, same rule. Multiplying for these, adding for these, and then just division.
What he said.
The vertex right there would just be looking at the graph. You can see it's 1, -2, 1, -2. 50 is J. That's how you find the vertex. Vertex is the turning point. Remember that. What is the slope of the line? This one right here, what you can do is just this is just your yeah. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That's your slope formula, and just plug those numbers in, and you will get option A.
Yes.
We already did one of these. I'm not doing another one. Okay, these one, we haven't done one like this one yet, so Mr. Wright has explained this before. I'll go over it again. So what he's saying is that if you do 96, if you put that into the calculator, it's not going to give you a real number. It's going to give you, let's see.
A big boy.
So it gives you a non-real number, and that's not what we want. So what we do instead is we take the numbers that can make 96, so factors of 96, which could be, let's see. In our case, you would figure out that it would be
48 something, and then you split that.
I think it's 16 times 6, that's what it is. So you get 16 times 6 under here. So then what it's saying is that you can now turn this right here into something real, because 16, the square root of 16 would be 4. So we can then actually do something with that and simplify it even more and turning it into just that. So what you're doing is just like making the problem smaller, sort of ish. So you're just doing what you can do, even though it's not in this form. You can multiplying these two together would still give you the same thing. You can try it out yourself if you want. And then yes, final question.
The final question. Come on, you gotta play the final countdown now.
I don't have the energy to. I'm sorry. Which line appears to have an x-intercept of -5? Okay. So x-intercept, that's gonna be, where does it do on the negative, on the x, sorry. So if it's an x-intercept, that's just talking about where it's on the x-axis, just like a y-intercept is where it's on the y. And we see that it is g because we have a -5 for our x and a 3 for our y-intercept, and bam! There you go. That's the entire test. All 54 questions done.
We did it. Only took us, what, 2 hours and 20 minutes?
Something like that. Time to turn off the crab rave. Oh my goodness, I feel like I'm gonna die. Okay, I'm gonna go now, y'all. Good luck tomorrow. Do your best.
Good luck, people. We did it. We did it all together as one.
Yay.
We.
Bye.